David Meyer is with us now, and David has been here in Cambodia for several weeks, maybe months, I'm not sure, putting all of this together for Hope Cambodia. But are you pleased with the way everything's been coming together?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the 30 days is just incredible. I mean, the amount of ministry we're getting to do, just one-on-one groups, it's just been off the charts. Every event has just been great. And we've had some challenges, but for the most part, God has just really showed up and just really put his stamp of blessing on this whole campaign.
Now, what's happening behind us is one example of several brand new centers that will help the entire village as well as house orphans that are happening throughout Cambodia. How many of those are being built because of Hope Cambodia?
There's a total of 15 what we're calling Hope Centers, and it's really just a combination of some of them are church buildings, some of them are just meeting places for the community, but every one of them has a children's home orphanage component to them, so kids will live there that are orphaned. We'll do feeding programs out of about 9 of those. When
the children come here who are orphans, it totally revolutionizes their life, doesn't it? It really gives them a brand new start at life.
Oh yeah, I mean the level of poverty in this country is just overwhelming. We're doing medical camps while we're here, and the average Cambodian only sees a doctor once every 3 years. One of the great things about these homes is we'll be able to pull people out of that, and they'll be able to not have to deal with, their teeth rotting and their hunger issues and their lack of medical care. And so, yeah, absolutely, those, hundreds of kids that we're going to be able to help through these homes, is just their lives going to be totally transformed.
One of the reasons why we've gotten into medical missions is because I had a complication from a surgery that I had a few years back. As I lay on the couch in my misery, I started thinking about what would it be like to be in a village in India or Africa with no medical help. How long would it take you to die from this, and what would it be like, and what kind of pain would you go through? And at that very moment, it was like this desire rose up in me to do medical clinics. As God would have it, we had been offered, the man who runs our office in India had been offered a bunch of hospital equipment from Samaritan's Purse shortly before that, and had no idea what he would do with it. And somebody had also asked him to take over a hospital that had previously been a Methodist hospital that had been closed for several years, and said, if you'll open this and run it, we'll give it to you. And so here God was putting all the pieces together, and then he used this situation that I was in, didn't cause it, but used it to provoke enough compassion in me to say, hey, let's do something about this.
If they're found out to have AIDS in the village, quite often they are ostracized to the point where they are hardly fed. Or as one lady I heard, they used to throw the rice bowl into her hut, and that was it. They just literally threw it at her. Sometimes they just quietly cry. Sometimes they just grip your hand. Sometimes they just don't know how to handle it, actually. In many ways, they're unemotional. They've just come through so much.
Seeing them in such a time of despair, and yet they just seem to be so filled with the love of God, and they seem to be so grateful and so thankful that we're there. And you just say, can I pray with you? And they're just so open for you praying, and it just touches your heart. It's just amazing. And showing the facilities that we provide for them, and allowing their families to come in, it's I don't know if I have the words to describe how awesome it is.
The parents feel so guilty as they feel responsible for passing on the virus to the children, either through their birth or in some other way if the children have got it. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of, they don't speak a lot, actually. A lot of them are very quiet. They're processing a lot of stuff because they realize their life has a limited time. And that's quite a sobering thought, really.
I was in the AIDS clinic, and there was a young man in there. He was probably about 12 years old, and he took me by the hand and brought me back to one of the back rooms where I guess none of us really had seen. And in there was his mother laying there, and she was dying of AIDS. And I just spent some time praying with him, and just loving on them and caring for them. And I couldn't speak their language, but I think we spoke the same language because the language of love, was there. And I just prayed over him too before I left. And I think just this morning I was laying in bed and I was kind of going through this whole process of what I'd learned. And I just started thinking about that instance, and then pretty soon the tears were just dropping off of my pillow. I just, you just think about these things, and it's going to change me forever. I'll never be the same.
There's a lot of stuff you just can't explain. You just have to realize that we live in a world that has an evil force in it, and that evil force works through a lot of people, creates a lot of circumstances, and God doesn't always do about it what we'd like Him to do, when we'd like Him to do it, because He has a greater plan than what we even realize. All we know is that God is good. He never allows more to come on us than what we can bear, but with every temptation, He provides the way out. And if we will continue to pray and trust God, honestly and truly, He will take even things that hurt and work them out to good in our lives.
To enter a prison, you go through the walking in and to the command control center. You get processed through and start hearing the gates clang behind you. And for some people, it's probably a scary moment. For me, it's just a joy moment, because I understand that why I'm there and what the purpose for which we've come, and it's just about to be fulfilled.
How many woke up one day and decided you were going to do whatever it took to be in prison the next day, huh? No, nobody. You will never know who you are until you know who God is. Let me say that clearly.
We really do see a tremendous amount of them giving their lives to Jesus. I think since 2002, when we started keeping the records for that, I think it's like over 63,000 that we've actually led to Jesus in the prisons in our services that we've done.
All we need to do is get out there and sow lots of seeds, and that's what Joyce Meyer books are doing. Here we're presenting a little gift pack, a book, some hygiene items. You know what's really behind there that is so powerful, and inmates, a lot of them can't figure this out. Why would people on the outside do this for us? And they ask that question because they feel so devalued. That's the power of love.
I'm 40 years old, and I've been in the system since I was 22.
For about the past 14 years, I've been in and out of the system.
I came into the system when I was 12 years old.
I've had all kinds of jobs. I've had my own company, but my addiction led to me losing my company, losing my wife, and the relationship with my children.
I had a bad habit of drinking alcohol. I loved to drink whiskey. The morning that I got arrested, I had already had 3/5 in me before noon, and a brand new half gallon in my hand.
I was a runaway. I ended up in the streets as a prostitute to supply my drug and alcohol addiction.
My grandmother spoke about God, but I just thought she was crazy. And now I've called my grandmother, and she said it's the first time in 30 years that I've sounded like a man.
I ran over anybody and everybody to get to what I needed to get my habit. And now I have a new habit, and that habit's Jesus. I thank Him every day that I don't have to go back to that lifestyle.
I started going to the chaplain's library, and that's where I was introduced to the Joyce Meyer Ministry. And I was introduced to books like this one. Told me of the life of Jesus Christ and how He went to the cross to die for my sins, and that He loved me, even me, a prostitute, that He loved me. And I had never in my life experienced that kind of love that I felt when I was in there.
Let's do it. Amazing grace.
I don't want to live the way that I live so much of my life. Selfish, self-centered. What about me? What about me? What about me? I will not live like that anymore. You will be absolutely amazed at what will happen in your life if you'll get your mind off yourself and try to be a real Christian who's concerned about letting the love of God flow through you and reach out.